have any more, Pastor? True
one praise from my breakthrough. I'm just one praise away from my blessing, so I must reach down
we have been
inside.
talking and sharing from a series of messages entitled Successfully Single, and then we part of the series dealt with a portion of it entitled Preparing for Marriage, or Prepared for Marriage. And I believe today will be the conclusion of that particular series. The Lord would say the same. And so I want to talk today, still dealing with that, preparing for marriage. And I want to talk, if I could, subtopic this today. I want to talk from the subjects, whose responsibility is it anyway? Whose responsibility is it anyway? As I've been dealing, and we've been talking from the subject of successfully single and dealing with being prepared for marriage, although we have a mix, if you will, congregation, because we have those who are married and we have those who are unmarried. And then we have all of us who are single. Because remember, the term single does not mean what the world has termed it to mean, to be by yourself. The term single, from the biblical perspective, simply means to be complete, to be whole. It means to be separated unto God. So all of us are actually single. But we have folk in here who are married, and we have those who are unmarried. And so just to help a couple of you folk who are unmarried, you need to start telling folk when they say child, no, I'm just unmarried. Now, don't get it twisted. I ain't lonely. I'm not alone, because if God be for us, who can be against us? And he promises that he would neither leave us nor forsake us. But I believe that as we have been dealing with this concept, it is important that we understand that salvation covers the total man. And so as we've been dealing with this concept, the reason why I'm sharing it in mixed company is because there are those of us who are married that prior to us getting married, the things that we should have learned before we said I do, we didn't learn them. And then I'm trying to prevent those of you who are unmarried, that you would prepare yourselves for marriage before you say I do, so that you won't have some of the situations some of the ones who said I do have right now. Because the truth be told, there are a whole lot of married folk right now who would declare with a clarion call, if I had known back then some of the stuff I know right now, maybe I would have waited. Maybe I would have reconsidered. Maybe I would have just remained unmarried. They don't want to be honest, because some of y'all sitting next to that person just look straight ahead, won't nobody know but me, you, and God. And so I believe it is incumbent upon us that we make sure that in the body of Christ that we're teaching and we're sharing with the people of God, not just to make you happy, jump, shout, speak in tongue, and run around the church, but that you will have a working knowledge of what marriage is all about. And so you can determine as a believer whether I need to remain in the station that I'm in or whether I need to connect with somebody. And so we've been dealing with that component and sharing with you that everyone in a marriage relationship has a responsibility. And so I want to deal again with the responsibility of this marriage component again. So let's start in the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter number 2 is where we're going to start, because Genesis is the book of beginning. And so if we're going to figure out how our marriages ought to work, we need to go back to the beginning. We need to go back to where it started, and just to reiterate some of the concepts. I want you to remember part of the concept was the fact that Adam was alone. Adam did not recognize he was alone. God said, it is not good for man to be alone. Adam was so complete by himself that he didn't ask God for a spouse. He didn't beckon God. I know we're in this hour now, everybody begging God, but Adam didn't ask God because Adam was happy by himself. The Bible teaches us, it gives us understanding that God then brings someone who is compatible to Adam. God does not say to Adam, marry her. God says to Adam, she is your helpmate. She's a helper. Adam decides. He makes choice. I'm going to mess some of y'all up with this because all of the world, the church realm especially, running around telling folk, God told you this your spouse. Instead of taking the decision and saying, I decided to marry them. Because I want to reiterate this, if God tells you to marry the individual, that you must marry them, then God is responsible to sustain the marriage. But because you make the choice, then you are responsible to put the work in. It ain't just thrown on God. You must do what is necessary to make it work. Tap your neighbor and say, neighbor, you want to put some work in. And so we want to look at, again, talking about the topic, whose responsibility is it anyway that when we come into the marriage relationship, someone has to be the responsible person to make this work? I want you to hear me again. It is not God's responsibility. It's somebody who's in the union's responsibility. Genesis, verse 24 is where we're gonna start.
Therefore shall a man leave.
Genesis 2 and 24. 2 and 24.
2 and 24.
Read.
Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife.
That's where we're gonna start, and that may be where we in. The text says, therefore, or for this reason, shall a man. I had a problem with the text because the text, oftentimes when we hear the term man in the Bible, is referring to mankind. But here in the text, he does not refer to mankind. He refers to Ish. Woman is Isha. He refers to the male man. So the text says, for this reason, the man should leave his mother and his father, which says there are principles that God has already set up from the beginning. First principle, I want you to notice in the text, he didn't tell the woman to leave her mom and daddy. Ooh, look how y'all looking. He says, for this cause shall a man leave. So the first principle that must be understood, that a man must come to a place of responsibility. The term leave means to forsake. He has to come to a place where he can tell mom and daddy later. Got my own family. It's called shall a man leave mother and father. And what are you going to do, Sister Logan?
Cleave.
No. The term said cleave. Here, again, this is just me. I had sometimes I'm a little slow. So he said the term cleave. And for the longest, Natori, I thought the word cleave means just to cling. But when you look up the word cleave, in the Greek, the word cleave means he ought to be in hot pursuit. And when he catches, stick to it like glue. Look how y'all looking. See, most of y'all sisters jacked up because they